Good evening, good evening. I hope you guys are doing good. Audio together. Wherever you are, shout out to you. Make sure you are sharing this with somebody that is interested in moving abroad, but definitely has a bunch of questions. And one of the biggest questions that I get is moving abroad. Like, how do you find a house? What do houses look like? And I am the first to tell you that the entire process is probably a little different than what we are used to. So I will let the algorithm do its thing. It does take a little minute for the live people to get on, but definitely want to at least introduce myself to the people that do not know who I am. My name is RJ. I am an expat. I've been living abroad for the last 3 years. What we do here on this platform is do our best to try to give you the education that America did not give you as Americans to get the hell out of there, if that's what's on your mind. We have to start from somewhere, and I'm seeing people nowadays not only going to move abroad with no education on how to do so, but more so, one, being taken advantage of, but two, starting to return home. Ideally, the world is such a beautiful place, but if you aren't actually leaving with any resources, you can have a bad time 100%. You're brand new to a lot of this stuff that is the entire move abroad process, and looking at navigating the differences as far as the nuances, as well as how to see a scam before you actually get scammed. I think that is important because you already may be in a position where your money is tied up. You're trying to get out of a situation where it's like all of my money goes to just bare necessities. Your first peak out shouldn't be a scenario where you're jumping into uncharted waters and not understanding not only where you're going, how basic things just like where you're going to live is going to be set up, but being able to see a scam before it actually sees you is one of the biggest things, because I always tell people when you're looking to move abroad, jump into the expat chats, the chats that are on Facebook. And I know depending on where you are, you might not be, on Facebook anymore. But from a looking to move abroad perspective, outside of YouTube, and you got to even be careful there. Some of the most unbiased opinions happen in groups because they're happening not from any one source, they're happening from multiple sources. They're giving you the option to get a test run to understand what may be going on in those places for people that are similar to you, Americans or expats that are living in somewhere. Some places even have black expat chats. So it's an opportunity for you to get a soft bead on what that looks like. And depending on what kind of chat you are in on Facebook, what realistically happens is you'll see realtors that are in the chats, and they're putting up properties and different things of that nature. And some of these properties, they'll have the pictures and everything looks awesome. And then they give you this price. And maybe if it's not even in USD, maybe it is in the local currency. You say, man, this looks awesome. Like, and it's affordable based off of whatever you have set your budget at. Yet so many people have gone through that rigmarole with someone they met on the internet and ended up on the other side with nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean they paid money, they put a deposit down based off of a number of things. You'd be surprised what somebody trying to get your money will do. They'll go on a Zoom call with you. They may have a website that could look legit. And one of the things I tell people for coming from the United States and looking to move abroad, we have so many standards that we understand in the United States. Now, if you are looking to rent or you are looking to purchase, these are relatively the same standards in regards to the person that is going to help you with the rental process or the person that is going to help you with the purchase process. This person is actually a real estate agent. This person has taken a test. This person had to pass a test. This person now works for a reputable brokerage firm. Maybe, depending on where you are, like you got Keller Williams, I know in Philadelphia. There's a bunch of, but they have a certain standard of ethics that we are used to being able to say, like, this is going to be, no matter if you go from Wyoming to Maine, places that may not be a lot of Americans at, it doesn't matter. You normally have to do that. And then there's an MLS listing where it's like the price is very transparent. We know exactly what the price is. Whereas I often, when in consultations with people that are looking to move abroad, I've said, I tell them what I already know based off of them saying, hey, yeah, I've already looked into places abroad. The one thing I say to them is, you've probably seen one place on 5 different websites for 5 different prices. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, well, yeah, I know. That's just how things are. It takes guidance and someone that you can trust to be able to help you navigate this. One of the things that I tell people, because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to use Airbnb, or I want to get rent and get the cheapest price possible. And I'm like, okay, so at least when you're first starting, you should get some understanding of where you are. Where you are, realistically, is that you don't know where you're going. And that's okay. It's okay not to know where you're going, but it's not okay to just not know where you're going and then just to run into it with your wallet open. So, realistically, when you talk about why I recommend people to go on Airbnb, at least at first, even once you do all of the other things that I've told you, as far as going on the relocation tours, as far as going into a scenario where you now are comfortable with the neighborhoods, there's one major thing that you're not comfortable with. And what gives you flexibility on Airbnb is, if the person that you're renting from doesn't care about fixing things that break in the house, why would you go on a first date once again and say, okay, well, I'm going to go, because when you do go off Airbnb, you may have to pay a deposit. Now, it's not normally like a full month, but that also can come down to negotiation, because somebody can say yes, and if you're used to that, then that's what you pay. But you've also got to realize, like, you may have to pay a full month and then a little bit more. And some people will tell you, oh, well, you need to pay 6 months. Now, I'm speaking on Colombia, but there are so many places, even in Mexico, I've seen some of these particular scenarios with the rental agreements where they want you to pay, a number of dollars up front. And coming from the United States, and you might say, okay, well, 3 months rent is what I'm normal to pay. But I give you caution on giving someone what the equivalent of 3 months rent is abroad. And what you guys don't have in the United States is flexibility. This is what it is. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Whereas abroad, you have the ability to negotiate. Yes, I told you guys how important relationships are and the ability to communicate. And you might say, well, I don't speak Spanish. How am I going to negotiate in a language that I don't speak? Therein lies expert help. Therein lies on the ground help that can help you navigate. Now, I will tell you, not every place that you may have on your radar is going to be set up from a situation where somebody's waiting for you and you can call them and they'll answer and say, yes, we can be your X avatar. You might need an avatar to help you navigate in a local language, and you just tell them what it is that you need. I've seen that work for some people. Some people also like to inspect what they expect as well. So I get that. And when you look at that, it's like, well, if you show up as an American, you may get an American price. And we don't really get that in the United States, but that is because no, you guys don't really realize how people look at Americans as far as the country of it. So it's automatically assumed, if you are leaving America and you're looking to purchase or rent property, for whatever the case is, that you are a certain kind of American, because if you weren't, then you wouldn't be in front of them. So you might not have a lot of money, but you giving off American could put you in a scenario where it's not necessarily a scam, but you're going to pay more. And I think it's really difficult at first for Americans to kind of navigate that, and not understanding like there's no navigation around it. It's more so understanding the language, but also understanding how things work. Because there's scams and we're gonna get into that, but there's also understanding that you aren't your best opportunity at getting the best rate. Unless you are coming from America and you are Colombian and you actually, know the local language, and they don't get that you're coming with American dollars, because then you're going to have to negotiate. These things are just the facts of the matter. It's not me making it up. It's just trying to help prepare you, because we're not used to negotiating a price. All we're used to doing is just going and seeing the price and then looking at it. So when it comes to your housing, the flexibility of not getting into a long-term lease. I have rented on Airbnb first in some places. I've worked with the owner in some places. Um, I've rented on Airbnb first and then got off Airbnb with the same place and said, okay, I know that you are a good person to rent from. I tell you guys to tread lightly with your first experiences. You may say, okay, well, I came and did my research, and the neighborhood that I've picked is this neighborhood. And you get there, then you finally unpack and you finally get settled, and you've got 2 months there or 3 months there. And you're like, okay, you go around, you start doing things and getting in parts of cities that you weren't going to on your, let me check this out and let me look. And then you see somewhere that you actually like even more. You start going there more often. Well, you have flexibility if you haven't put yourself in a long term thing. One. Two, let's say that it's not about moving different neighborhoods and having the flexibility of that. What if you get in somewhere and you have I had a water situation where water just started pouring out of the ceiling. Like one day I came out and I just heard something fall. I'm like, what was that? It was piece of the ceiling, and it started like dripping, like slowly, very slowly. So I called the landlord. Landlord's like, oh, well, we'll come there on Monday. It was like Friday night. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they came Saturday. And they're like, well, we're going to see what it is. And long story short, I had to end up leaving that place because they were like, the place wasn't going to be ready as far as dry until 30 days. And it was like, you just have to live inside of something that is like relatively seeping wet mold 30 days. That's a flexibility thing. Never mind, like, oh, well, something is wrong with the toilet. Well, it's going to take us a week and a half to get there. And you've given them all of the money up front and you don't have any say so, and you could be upset, but that doesn't make anything go any faster when you've done this. So I tell people, especially Americans, when looking to move abroad, caution yourself with like we're used to getting a year lease. That's what we're used to. Under a year lease is like they don't even usually offer that. But here they do. And what you have to do is navigate that in a way where it makes the most sense for you, and then settle where it is that you feel comfortable based off of the relationship that you have. Because all of it is a relationship. And a lot of the rentals aren't, you're renting from the building. We go into apartment complexes and it's like, you're renting from this corporation and this company. No, most of these are privately owned places. Some are unfurnished, some are furnished. These things, all the utilities are included. So the nuances when it comes to the housing scenario, before we even get into the scams, really just starts with understanding that there's differences in the I can just find a realtor because they sound nice or they just posted something and they've got a website. It's like if you don't have anyone that has already worked with them that can be verified, I think at this point, especially I tell you guys yesterday, the black travel community is small. If you have a friend, doesn't even have to be me, but if you have a friend that you know is traveling and going around the world and you're looking to move abroad, you should tap in with them. Don't have to tap in with me. Tap in with them. Somebody you know. and ask them like, hey, do you know anybody that happens to live here? Likely they will have somebody that already lives there. That way they can get you connected on the ground versus, oh, well, let me just ask ChatGPT who's the best real estate places. Because some of these places that I've seen that I was looking at when I initially started, and I was like, I don't really know. Things kind of sound like really great. And I was like, this sounds, and let me call somebody that is on the ground. Well, a lot of the people that are in these expat chats that are saying bad things about renting from privately owned companies, these were the people I was looking at. Never ended up renting from them, but I tell you guys, I sit there and say, well, I'm glad I didn't do that. I know so many people that have even lived in Colombia or abroad for far, and their first stumbles out of the United States was like, I got scammed because somebody told me the faithful thing. They said, there's a lot of people looking at this property, and we need you to put a deposit down so we can hold it for you. And the one thing about expectations, and I tell you, is every place has a court system. Well, that isn't the issue. The issue is your expectation of resolvement. Resolvement, and when you say, okay, well, even if it's a legit business and they just didn't do what they were supposed to do, you can run into lengthy civil situations. So it's like best to avoid them versus thinking that the court process anywhere, America, abroad, is going to be some swift process with actual justice. It's better to just protect yourself and say, okay, well, how do I navigate knowing a realtor that somebody's already worked with? Let me get into these groups. Let me start asking some questions. Let me jump into somebody's DMs that is even putting the information out and say, do you have a realtor? Listen, I don't have greased palms. Like, you go get them, here's their phone number. There you go. Like, you have to figure out your journey. My job is just to make it a little bit easier and getting you to understand that even down to housing, gotta be very particular about what you're doing, how you're doing it. Because the scams that pop up and the things that I've seen will bring you back home really quickly and you'll be really upset. And the opportunity to avoid these things, it's just right there. I don't know who's going to see this. I don't know who's going to listen to this, but somebody needs to make certain because people in the United States have been trained to even think from a housing perspective. Oh, well, I'm going to invest in some property somewhere else. And because everybody said that it's a third world country or it's a country that is not as developed as the United States, a lot of these places that I'm seeing people start to buy Ghana, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Mexico, Panama, like all of it. They think that everything costs $10,000 or $15,000. Realizing that these people, when you go abroad, are going to ask you for over most of these places, as far as an investment visa, over $100,000 that you need to purchase in a property. Now, can you buy $1,000 property there? Yes. Depending on where you go, that $100,000 number may go up or down. There may be different ways to get different visas. This is not a blanket statement. I just need your considerations that there may be some things and nuances that you don't know about the housing process. Depending also where you're going, your credit won't get you what it is that you think that is going to get you because you're an American and this isn't America. So how do you put yourself in a situation to have if it's $100,000 or $150,000? How do you put yourself in a situation to go have that liquid? Oh, well, I could borrow this and get this in America. Well, this is where you can get a house in America. And until you sell that house and get the value of it in liquid cash that you can utilize, many of these places are looking for dollars. Like you need to transfer money to an account that is liquid, not I will pay you and this is going to work out. So when you're considering not wanting to be scammed and your first thought is, well, property investment, you are somebody is going to require whoever it is, even the people that are legit, over $100,000. Why would you not at least tap in with some folks and get you some get you some understanding so that you can navigate this in a way where you don't end up not having the money that's in your pocket because you were just so in a rush to get out. That's an actual thought process that you need. Now, also one thing I'll tell you guys, because a lot of you are just ready to go and will go on Airbnb, but also not realize that just because it looks good on the inside does not mean it looks good on the outside. The inside could be beautiful, modern. You could see a beautiful view out the window and say, "This is and the price is right, excellent." Do you know where it is that you are actually going? Do you know if this place is on the side of a hill? Do you? Do you know if, and don't get me wrong, Airbnb is definitely one of your better options as far as minimizing your risk. But I have also heard of people not saying where it is that this is actually. I've had a situation where some people had showed up to an Airbnb and it was actually in a hostel. They didn't tell them that, yeah, this is a one bedroom apartment and a hostel wherever you walk out and it's just people like in a hallway. These things are realistic. Like, so you have to go about understanding that these housing things, it could not be what it is. That's why I say go on a relocation tour, try to find out what it is. If you have somebody on the ground that can at least start helping you show some of these properties or at least put you in the hands of a trusted realtor, why wouldn't you? It's better not to do so. You might not be looking to spend 100 grand, but even that process, how do you find said realtor to help you navigate $100,000 of your money plus fees and everything else with trustworthiness? In another language, in another country, understanding completely only what you know in America. And if you aren't a realtor in America, all you know is, I have money and I want to purchase. That's where most people's education goes when it comes into buying houses. So you have to consider these things also when going and trusting because you're just so in desperation. I get being in desperation and feeling like I have to leave, but I want you to stay gone if it's that's what you want it to be. If you go get your money, $100,000, and the person runs off on it, transfers it to a wrong account, the process of you getting that back, how long is that? Is that going to turn around quickly for you? Is that going to be everything that you had to start your new life? These are realities that I'm starting to see people actually go through without this conversation. I got I know people that have actually lived in Colombia for a long time. My boy, he's like, he always gives people a heads up. Like, listen, you need to watch out for rental scams, and here is the entire dossier of what happened to me, and create, I think, a community of like trying to make certain that this didn't happen to anybody else. Because it's easy to take people's desperation and be like, cool, opportunity to make money. And when people can smell it, you think that people don't know what happened yesterday that aren't in America? You don't think that people are starting to wake up and maybe realize that everything that's going on there isn't okay as much as you haven't been able to or are starting to wake up and realize that for yourself? Yeah, the light is starting to turn on even more so on some of the things that I used to tell people, and they're like, that doesn't happen in the United States. And now they're coming to me with it like, hey, I saw this. This is normal. Because you guys said, and I'm like, I didn't say anything. So you have to realize that people know that you may be in a desperate scenario. You guys need to understand also that your desperate scenario could be somebody's come up if you aren't going about it the right way. One of the things I tell people, the biggest red flags you need to look for is somebody trying to get a deposit out of you. So when I'm in a place, I go see the place. I will I will take time before I go move in and stay in a hotel and then go on Airbnb or go with a realtor and walk around a bunch of places. And it's like, I want to see this place. Yes, this place looks nice. That's why I'm contacting you. But what does the area look like? Do I feel safe? I used to have a dog, rest in peace, Nino. Used to go outside and I have to walk the dog. And I'd be like, I'm not walking the dog out here in the middle of the night. I am too tall to just blend in. So these things were all factors into the non-scam side, but like it is a scam because you would think, oh well, this place looks nice on the inside. Let me go about looking for it on the outside. Like, no, the outside looks bad. Oh, I need a deposit and I haven't even seen the place. Hmm, it might just not be for me. Seriously, because I need to see this place. I need to know that you have the keys. I need to understand these things. It's honestly best. I wouldn't, if you don't have to, start any new relationships. I keep telling y'all, I told y'all, black folks, if you have a friend that is traveled, that travels, I guarantee you, they know somebody that went there. They know somebody that spent time there. And it's like, unless you're going to places that people just don't go. But a lot of the destinations for people that are looking to move from America to abroad are already travel places. There's usually no reason to start from the bottom or start from zero or start from Chat GPT and thinking that that is your best option for you. Unfortunately, the internet doesn't work in your favor that way. I would 100% not send any deposits and moving abroad. Somebody asked that. No. Who is the person? Everybody that I put you in contact with, I have seen these person in actual real life. I know that they do legit business. Now, you may be going somewhere where I don't have connection yet, but you might just say, well, but what about this place? Well, actually, I do have a connection there. I just don't have a relocation tour for you to go on. But I promise you, I know somebody there. And if you don't want to ask me, ask your other buddy that loves to travel. Whoever you ask, just don't go about it and thinking that you're sending your money into places. And one thing I have to tell you, because I ran into this the other day. Somebody was moving abroad and they were asking me about furniture. And I told them with the furniture thing, I'd say, so we're used to places renting unfurnished, standard in the United States. You know, you got it rent unfurnished, utilities aren't included. You know, if you're renting, many times you're renting furnished and you're also renting whole. So whatever the dollar amount is, usually that's how much it costs per month for your utilities up to a certain amount. Here's what the basic water and electricity bill is on a standard basis. We cover you up to here. Anything you use over this, you need to pay for. Super standard and every, well, not standard coming from where we're coming from, but standard as far as abroad. And they'll usually be flat out with the terms of places that are going to be hot all of the time. You're definitely probably going to pay an electricity bill, where place like Medellin, the bill, there is no electricity bill from a air conditioning consistency. And if they do have air conditioning, then you might have that written as an addendum. But normally in a place like Medellin, you know, get hot, open the window, get cold, just close it, and then you're fine. But I have no idea where you may be going. So the places that hot on the other side of the world, electricity, you might need to pay that. But don't go putting any deposits down. I just wouldn't, unless it's through Airbnb, and only rent at least a month. Don't go sign up for 6 months because you don't know the responsiveness. I keep telling you guys that I want to hammer that in because I keep seeing so many people, and it's like, at least on Airbnb, I think you can cancel if you complain, which is why I say start there. But you just don't know what you don't know until you really settle in and get there. And then you have that flexibility to say, okay, well, here's where I really want to be. Because your thought process when you're trying to get out versus your thought process when you have actually moved abroad, it is completely different. I told somebody, and this is one of these questions here, are relocation tours a safer way to house hunt abroad? I would say yes. Relocation tours are a safer way to house hunt abroad. However, I will tell you, just because of the things that I'm getting in the streets, I will tell you to go about renting before you purchase. I know. You guys are looking to leave America. You want to go get the investment visa. You don't realize that you have 180 days on your passport. So you're thinking, I need to go and jump and get a visa before I actually go move abroad. And you have a blue passport. So I get it. But I don't want you to be in a scenario where you're just not 100%. Sure. And the relocation tours, they should be designed wherever you go and whoever you go through to show you places you can rent, just so you can get acclimated to the place. Not only take you to also places that would be a purchase, some places, depending on where you go, there may be new builds, even taking you to somewhere and see walking through what a process of looking at a new build is. So we're building this place and you can buy into the build, but this is what this would look like when it's done. And this is this process. And then having a separate conversation outside of turning knobs just about what the buying process looks like there is what the return on investment, if that is where you are leaning. These things are extremely important, I think, to your consultation as far as property investment. I think it's really important as far as your consultation getting on to see some of the places that you have as far as even renting opportunities. Now, I tell you guys about Colombia, and we'll say this, but this is going to be nuanced to where it is even maybe even greater than what I'm about to tell you. Because in Colombia, what you have is places that have pools and gyms and 24-hour security, and they have elevators all the way up to the 25th floor. The last place I lived at was just like that. Rooftop pool, but the place wasn't as big as some of the other places. If 24-hour security is important, you might want to take a look at that. Some of the places that may be 4 stories that have no elevator may have a bigger unit. Think about that. These things are really important to consider because you are going to be the one that's living there. But that's why I tell you, don't go getting all the way in the bed before you really know what you like. Some things you can see in the United States and say, okay, yeah, I would like a style like this. But some of these things don't exist. You might be able to get close, but unless you're willing to go build it from the ground up, it might not exist. So going to see what these things look like on relocation tours that are designed to show you exactly a peek into what your life would be like if you were actually here and get you caught up to speed and in front of people that are actually going to be able to help you. These things are designed to give you that peace of mind, that ease of use so that you aren't stumbling out of the gate like trying to figure it out and somebody's like, "Hey bro, I can help you." Of course they can. And then when your money's gone, you're either saying, well, how do I get restarted? And I've dealt with those conversations. I've already lost X amount of dollars. Can you now put me in contact with somebody that's trusted after $500 is already gone and a deposit that never existed? So I want you guys to take caution to just running out and thinking that you can do it on your own. You guys don't have to just utilize me. There are other people, there are other maybe even free resources. I always see so many people, and it's like, yo, you can come and you can ask me as many questions as you want in an online forum. And I'm like, if 30,000 people ask you a question, you would not have enough time to answer them, and then it would have to be your job. So you can ask anybody who is willing to give you legitimate advice. I'm just telling you, you do need to ask somebody that has already done it. It's not in your nature to already know how to do this. Some things you picked up a basketball for the first time, it was like you've been playing basketball for your whole life. But moving abroad and leaving America and everything you know, that's not what you're used to. Even when our ancestors did it going and saying, all right, after slavery and everybody went to, the North, the Midwest, the West, they were going places that people were still speaking English. They were still in America. There was still some understanding of at least that, even though it was going to be a brand new situation. Leaving is in a completely different environment. You've got to go different generations back to what that even felt like, and that wasn't a choice. So you guys have to understand that there's so much onus that comes on to you in making certain that there's other people that have done it. No, I'm not the only one, but you should be listening to somebody, asking them questions. If it is worth, whatever their consultation fee is, I would recommend you paying it as long as it's reasonable. a couple of dollars, considering how much things cost in the United States. Now, if it's not reasonable, then don't pay it. But if it's reasonable and actually sustained advice and can guide you and help you, it starts at housing and then it just gets even worse. If you get caught up with the wrong people, they can build an entire elaborate, I can help you with this. I just need deposits or money for all of it to get a schedule. And then it sounds great. I just don't want more people. It's not like anyone. It's already happening. More people to run into a scam situation, already in a situation of desperation, looking to leave and give up everything they know. Somebody's asking leasing agreements. How are they different between the United States and abroad? Your leasing agreement can pretty much, it's flexible. Usually you get a standard agreement. Like I said, you're renting usually from some people rent from like a person, that owns a property or whatever the case is. But a lot of people are renting from corporations. So it's a standard lease agreement. Whereas, you might have a 3-month lease agreement or a 6-month lease agreement. Some people even sign longer depending on your relationship after having that, just so you can lock it in. Some people may be willing to take off money if you pay all of it up front. But I tell you to bear with caution with that, so that if you run into that situation, it's with somebody that you trust, that is just like, it's going to be easier for me to avoid any fees that you might have or whatever the case is, to just pay because I know like we have an existing relationship. I wouldn't go paying 6 months of anything. I wouldn't even go give anybody 3 months of rent abroad. Just, I wouldn't. There's other ways around it where you can choose to not have to do that or do it after you have a comfortable relationship with the person. But lease agreements aren't just a standard 1 year. They can be relatively flexible. They can include certain things. You could say, well, I'm willing to do, I'm willing to pay this if you include, I don't know, water every month. So if you have a jug that you have to buy water, like a big jug of water. Well, I want you to deliver water instead of me having to buy that, and I'll give you this a month. That can be flexed into your agreement. It's a little bit more flexible, and these things can work in your favor. So as much as I've told you, like, you've got to avoid scams because these things aren't necessarily set up in the standard way that we're used to. There's things that can work in your favor where you could get some easements or some things. And I haven't been into a new house abroad where somebody didn't give me something for moving in. Wine, chocolate and wine, chips and salsa and wine, and I've gotten so many random gifts and things. So it's like those things are green flags when you first move in of how things will probably go. And when you get in, the one thing I always tell you to do is take inventory of one, what is there, two, if there are any defects, flaws or anything, something's chipped, you want to take a picture of it, you want to put it together so and get it all into a WhatsApp group with the person and say, these things are this way on the first day. This is what the couch looks like on the first day. Because that's one of the things, that is one of the little uncovered things. No matter how long you're in there for, you'll be surprised if you do pay a deposit, what people will be like, well, this entire thing needs to be cleaned. And it's like, well, did the entire thing need to be cleaned? Because I wasn't even there. I've run into that a lot of times. Thank God, like the last couple of people I rented from, I didn't have those issues. But when you first get out, you're like, I didn't, now my entire deposit is gone. That's not true. Then you got to go back and forth, and then it's not going, but you got to go back and forth. So a lot of the negotiating and a lot of the ability to either one, have the conversation, two, have someone that can help you navigate the conversation. These things are going to be really important because that building that local connection scenario, it expands outside of housing. Housing is just one thing, but ease of use to get around to your new location is also going to be based off of what somebody else can tell you, so you don't have to just figure it all out yourself. Getting into the groups, whether they are the local community groups, whether they are the expat community groups, they can also help you navigate things, because I tell people, like, we know what a scam looks like in the United States. But if you don't have local eyes, then something looks completely rosy and you're looking and they're like, this looks awesome. And somebody that's local, like, that's a scam, bro. You can't see it. And it's like, no, you don't see how beautiful it is. And that is why I'm like, even Americans that have lived will literally tell you, that's a scam. And you're like, I didn't even see that. Now you put it like that way, I guess I can't see it, but you're so either overwhelmed or even so enamored in your new place that you think everything is just perfectly fine. And it's like, no, like danger and scams, they exist everywhere. It's not like you're going to just leave America and walk into the perfect place. How do you avoid paying the gringo price for rent? Avoid, it's a great word. I don't know if you can avoid paying the gringo price for rent. I mean, okay, so the best way is to have someone act as your local person. Like, they will be your face and they will go do their best. However, you'd be surprised, because I've heard people do that and then they were so surprised about what the number is. But it's because they think that everything is cheap. Everything is cheap. So it should be actually this number, because something like this in a place like this, it should be actually this price. But the best way, I think, is to have somebody go for you. And shout out to Carolina from Medellin Expat Services, because she is one of those kind of people. She will show up and be like, "Hello, I'm Carolina, and I'm here to look at this place, and I'd like to see if it's nice." Or she'll tell you about my client, but you don't know who my client is, so and she'll go there and have a conversation in Spanish, so she'll negotiate the best pricing for you. There are definitely services that do that compared to where, depends on where you're going. Other ways to avoid it, know the local language. That is definite. I've been, not even in a housing scenario, but I've been in Cartagena and some, lady tried to give me a massage, like at the Chalon, like some old lady. Like, I was like, dang, that feels good, but and I'm like, well, how much? And she's like, I think she said 100 and no, 250,000 pesos. And I was like, so in Spanish, I said, I live in Medellin. I'm not paying that. What else you got? And she's like, well, 50. Well, that's $200,000 off. And I gave her more money, but I was just like, you see how you go from 250 to 50 quickly? And then I was like, all my friends going to get some. So we're going to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And it's just those things will, because they think that you're just there for the weekend. And even knowing what a I saw something the other day, and I don't know how true this is, so somebody that's run into this, please weigh in. I saw something the other day that said in some cities you go get a menu and you sit down at the restaurant and you go and you look at the prices and the food and you're like, all right, cool, I ordered this, I'm ordering this, and you order your food and it comes out, and then you go get the bill and it's got all your food on there, but all of the prices are different than you remember. Has that ever happened to somebody? Definitely, I've definitely felt like that has happened, but I wasn't sure until the other day when I saw it, somebody mentioning it, and I was like, okay, so this is happening. So this is something that a lot of people aren't even aware of, and it's like being able to communicate, because trust me, somebody that you have had a conversation with, if you don't know real good language barrier, they may throw their hands up and be like, "Well, I don't really speak a lot of English, so I don't know what you're saying." And you're like, "Okay, well, we can have this conversation in Spanish or whatever the local language is," and that is probably your only way to get out of it. Never mind just, "Oh, well, this is $10, amigo," and now you're negotiating in Spanish, and then they hear that you actually have a hold of the language, and you're able to negotiate from $10 down to $3. The gringo tax actually a lot of times comes from where the expectation is, because we're just used to coming from America and not realizing where we are and not realizing that you can negotiate. So the gringo tax is, well, yeah, you did pay $10 because you didn't even ask to pay $5. That's a lot of onus on the person, and not realizing that where you are and what the culture is and how it's different. Because if you knew that you could negotiate because you did the research, then you would know that $10 may not be the real price. And if I have a little command of the language, I could say, no, $10 is not the price. It should actually be closer to $3. And if you're able to navigate that, he might go from 10 all the way and saying, give me five. And you're like, man, we can do four and let me get this too. And they're like, okay. But you settle on 10 because from your mindset, you think that's a good deal. My mom was down here and she was like, she bought like a bunch of stuff. And I was like, why do you have so much stuff? And I was like, how did you spend $75? Like, you got to be really intentful to spend $75. And she was like, this is $75. Like, that's it. And I'm like, two different mindsets. From America, she's looking at this stuff and it's like, I got all of these things and it only cost me $75. So I'm looking at it, it's like, you got that, but why did you just spend $75? These things are all important when it comes down to the gringo price, whether it's for rent, food, clothing, services. If you guys are, the opportunity to negotiate, you also you can't be rude because once again, they say everywhere we're going or everywhere we're looking at, a lot of the places are other countries or third world countries. And I tell y'all to mind yourself with that word because you think that people don't have money in said places. And I'm like, there are plenty of people with money. I don't know what you think about Colombia, but I have seen Ferraris and Porsches and Lamborghinis, and I've seen them all. So what are you considering is the real price? Some things are going to be cheaper, yes, but there's $1 million houses in Medellin, more than that. Now, the equivalent of that house would be a lot more in the United States, but to think that you can't spend $1 million in a place that America told you is a third world country, it's absolutely outrageous. But getting in contact with the local and expat that is, understand this process, actually has real resources to help you starting to learn the language, that is the best way to do your best at avoiding the gringo price all around. And your last option, or one of the best options from a renting perspective, if you can't do it, you can hire somebody and they will try to go get you the best local rate that they can. That is something that I've definitely seen. How do you find safe neighborhoods? You go. Everything and safe is relative to what you think it is and what you may need to do. You might spend all your days in the house. You might need to not need to go outside as much as everybody else. You might not want to walk outside and have access to certain things. The relativeness when it comes down to moving abroad, I tell you guys, it's a tough scenario because you are forced to ask yourself so many questions. Like legitimately, what do I want? What do I like? I tell people when looking to figure out what you want to move abroad because things aren't what you're used to when it comes to housing, you actually have to figure out. I'm 6'3". I can't be in a twin size bed. What am I going to do? I know I'm skinny, but like my legs got to go somewhere. So these things I need to go look and go see before I just say like let me give them and sign 6 months or a year and I don't even know what real size the bed is. Or never mind the bed being tall. What if the bed is like bricks and you need a soft bed? Or what if the bed is soft and you need a brick bed? I've seen people on both sides of the coin. We don't A lot of places don't have dishwashers. And then with the dishwasher scenario, it might take up a lot of electricity, which might inflate your bill high. Guess we have air conditioning in some places, but other places don't. You want to have the air conditioning blasting all day? Are these amenities things that you must have? Safety, you go outside. Is it lit up at night? Can you go and walk around outside and go to a park? These things are all relative to what you want in both a house and a neighborhood. I can't explain, well, I can explain how Medellin is, but I can't tell you where you're going to go. But all of the neighborhoods I guarantee are going to be different. But I know with Medellin, it is as big as it reminds me if like New York had perfect weather. Because if you like live in La Relish, there's so many different neighborhoods in La Relish, like you don't really have to leave. There's a lot of stuff there that you could just stay there and just enjoy yourself. Or Poblado, or in Like there, these pockets are like self-sustainable, where it's like You could just live your life in these little places. But so many people are like, well, I just know Medellin is where I want to be. But all of these places are going to be different. All of the amenities in the houses are going to be different. Why would you put yourself and put all your ducks into one place and sign up for 6 months? And it's like, just get in there. Don't take America's still process of 1 year leases or even cutting that in half and saying, well, let me just go do this. Now, I'm not saying move a lot if that's not what you're into, but I'm just saying have flexibility that will actually work for you before you get yourself into a scenario where it's like, maybe you didn't get scammed. Maybe it's the exact place that it was on Airbnb. The neighborhood is perfectly fine. But the moment something breaks, it just never gets fixed. And it's something that you need. Or you live in a building where you got sold because it's got a pool there, but the pool has been closed the entire time. So you're paying for a luxury and amenity that you can't even use. I have seen that as well. What do you do? Nothing. You signed a 6 month lease. Now you're stuck. Depending on what Airbnb says about the pool being there or not being there, because the person that's the owner can't really do nothing. It's the building. Have some flexibility. Get an understanding of where you are. Understanding that scams can look a lot different. Danger looks a lot different when you move abroad and travel abroad. Yes, you know what it looks like in the United States, and yes, you may be from the hood in the United States. That's cool, but this isn't your hood. This is a different ball game. And when you're in a state of desperation because people from outside of the United States are like, it's a lot more Americans here, so something must be going on. And then when they go look at what it is that's going on, they go, aha. And now more and more people are going out and going viral and saying all of these interesting things on the internet. And it's like the people that are bad, because there's bad people everywhere, are like, we can just act like, we're going to help them and just take their money. And there's so many people out there, just like there are in the United States. So all I ask y'all to do is make certain that you are watching out for the scams. And the best way you can do that is going with trusted experts, going with expert guidance, somebody that has already done it. Does not need to be me. It can be anybody that is actually willing to take their time and help you and connect you, give you a hookup. As I said, I talked to my community. You know what a hookup is. You need a hookup when you move abroad. It's okay. Yes, I tell y'all gotta have y'all drawbridge way lower. Even if you're an introvert, gotta bring it down because you are going to need the community of black travelers. You're going to need a community of travelers that are already in the places that you want to be to reach back to you and say, okay, here's the blueprint, or here I'm going to help you, and this is how we go about doing it. And if it costs you a little bit of money, I would rather you pay them or pay somebody a little bit of money so that way you can have the expert guidance. Listen, people get scammed out of $500 easily all of the time in different places. If it costs $500 to get handheld from A to Z, I personally say it's a good investment because I know people that have walked out their house and just got for $500. Easy. So if you actually trust somebody and they actually are putting in the work and actually putting in the time and they're saying this is what it costs, but I am going to handhold you like I've held everybody else's hand that has already done this, it is better for you to go through somebody. And you might be able to get it for free. If you know somebody that has got that has a friend that has done it and they've got the time. Might not be their job, but they might have the time. Cool. Just do it. Don't go out here and be in a scenario where you're on the internet saying, I'm headed home because nobody told me that they was going to take my money. And now I just want to go back to the States and I'm done. I don't want that for you because I realize, I mean, you might not realize as much, but I realize just how big this is for you. If you are literally considering moving abroad, you are in a scenario where your life is about to transform. Change is even too small of a word. Transform is the word that needs to be done because, yes, you're going to have ups and downs. What I'm saying. But your view and vision on life and where you were versus what your opportunity is now on the other side versus what it could have been should you have stayed there. I tell people, so many of my friends are like, I can't imagine being in the United States right now. Even for the last 3 years, even for the last 5 years, however long they've been gone. And they're like, I can't imagine it. I don't know. I was like, yo, I think if I was there for the last 3 years, my entire beard would be gray. Seriously. Or at least a lot more. Because it's just like, what? So many of us are realizing that if you didn't have expert guidance, you fumbled and stumbled out a lot. And if you could have had it, you would have taken it, considering what you didn't know and how long it took you to figure it out, how long it took you to not be in a situation to get scammed. It doesn't have to happen. But the DIYers will tell you that you can do it all by yourself based off of a 10% chance. Well, a 10% chance of success means that 90% of people are failing. It's too important to you to have a 10% chance at success. So I hope that tonight y'all heard something that is going to at least give you some pause for cause, understanding that when it comes down to housing, that it's not all made the same around the world. Mexico, Colombia, Panama. Oh, wait, they don't have to take a real estate test? Anybody can rent me this? Oh, wait, anybody can help me invest my money into a property? They didn't just go and get signed up with the reputable brokers. They just started their own firm and said, we do houses. Because that's what you were expecting. And now you know. It is wise to work with people that already know that the people that you're looking for are legit. Whatever people you decide to work with, that's on you guys. My job is just to stoke the energy, stoke the fire that is in you to move abroad and give you something real that you can land on. I appreciate it because tonight we didn't have any technical issues because it changed up what I was actually shooting on. The tablet is not my friend. But as always, I appreciate you. If somebody that you know needs to hear this, make certain that you share this with them. We are available. We are on YouTube at Black Expat Life Abroad. You can see my beautiful face on over 180 videos. These videos are not just me talking. We have brought on parents. We have brought on immigration lawyers. We have brought on people that live in Ghana, Qatar. We've done our best to try to connect you and be the one-stop resource for everything that you need to move abroad, or at least that cousin that you can call for a hookup. So I do my best to want to just make certain that y'all are covered when it is looking to move abroad. You guys can also, if you guys are in the podcast and just listening, I'm not saying my voice is the most soothing, but you guys can go to Apple as well as Spotify and listen to Black Expat Life Abroad. I appreciate the support as always, y'all, for tuning in. I want to make certain that you guys are covered. And let's see what we're jumping into tomorrow before I let you go. Ooh, one of my favorites. Building community abroad, how to find your people anywhere. Yes, you need your people, and you need them more than ever when you go to move abroad. Community with the big C will save your life. We're going to get into it tomorrow. Make sure y'all set your alarms. Make sure you are following. And share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because I know I'm not the only one that knows somebody. Make sure I don't have a question. Nope, no questions. All good. Y'all stay safe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate it.